Welcome to GRE Snacks, snackable episodes about the GRE exam and graduate school admissions. I'm Tyler, the founder of Achievable, and we have an affordable GRE course that includes everything you need to ace your GRE exam. A full textbook, tons of GRE questions backed by our memory-enhancing algorithm, and full-length practice exams. You can try it out for free at achievable.me, and if you like it, the code podcast gets you 10% off at checkout. Now, let's get started today with Amit Kapur from Sparrey Consulting. And Amit, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on. Sparrey Consulting, we've been around for about 15 years. We're a broader career management firm, but about 85% of our client base starts at the stage a lot of your listeners are at, where they're considering an MBA or other graduate education program. And so we help them along the way, helping them put their best foot forward and really making them attractive to the admissions committees out there, both in terms of admissions and financial aid, and then helping them succeed in their degrees longer run.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I think makes you a really good person for today's topic, right? Because I think that as much as we all like to pretend that, particularly the graduate school admissions officers like to pretend that this isn't a numbers game, there's definitely some impact that the numbers have on your ability to get into different schools at different competitiveness levels. And so, going into this process, getting a sense for what those numbers are, right? What kind of analytics are available to you, where you can start to benchmark yourself, how you can move yourself against that benchmark is all really interesting. So I'd love for you to kind of kick us off here on the best way to use these analytics. Maybe we start with the most obvious one, which is standardized test scores.
Yeah, and I think you touch on a really important point. Probably the two most important questions in this entire process are, is an MBA right for me? And
Mm-hmm.
if so, which one? And those, sound like simple questions, and we get a lot of clients where they're, hey, I'm going to pull up XYZ rankings, and that's going to tell me which, whether an MBA is right for me because I can see the employment class profiles and the ROIs and I can look at the rankings and see which one's quote unquote better than the others. The reality is the answer is so individual. We half joke that sometimes our highest ROI conversations with people we work with are when we convince somebody not to get an MBA, or we convince somebody that another graduate degree is better for them because it's more aligned with their interests. A major starting point of that is the standardized test scores. GMAT and GRE, what we found is treated roughly the same by the schools. But in doing the standardized test scores, obviously it's an investment for people. Sometimes they don't have the time to make that investment. That's usually a good signal of whether you're going to be able to handle the rigor of an MBA program or the rigor of another graduate master's degree. And so
Or at a
that's usually a
minimum,
good
the rigor
signal.
of applying to an MBA program, right? Because
Yeah,
you have to do it while you have a
absolutely.
job.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is an additional time pressure, and it's usually a good precursor to how busy you're going to be in a graduate degree. Sometimes people think that it's time off or it's an opportunity to reflect, and it's sort of this passive experience. We like to remind people, for the vast majority of people out there, and, I can speak to an MBA because I did it. I find myself busier during my MBA than at any other time in my life because it was that pressure of waking up every day and facing 40 hours worth of stuff that I could do that day. And so there's that pressure of having to turn things down. And so similarly, when you're prepping for your standardized testing or the time you're investing in some of these analytical, these diagnostics, if you can't carve out the time for that, then it's probably going to be a signal that a degree is going to be more of a challenge for you, regardless of what other kind of what else is going on in your life. So it's usually a good signal, and in terms of whether you get overly stressed out on doing the testing itself.
Right. Well, so then as far as standardized test score analytics go, right, I think that it's basically, I wouldn't say common knowledge, but it's generally pretty easy to figure out for a given school what their average test score is for the GMAT or the GRE. Do you feel like that's a fair statement?
Yep. I think that's a fair statement. I think one of the challenges with the GRE is just it's a little less confident in knowing what a good score is because the class profiles, the pool of candidates using the GMAT to get into an MBA program is larger than the pool for the GRE. Now that gap has been closing, over the years. But that being said, it's fairly easy to know what a good score is for standardized testing.
Hmm.
So I think that is usually a first signal on whether people can handle the academic rigors of a graduate program, and how difficult it'll be for somebody to balance those academic rigors with everything else going on in somebody's life.
Right, exactly. Well, and I think also, I mean, when you're evaluating schools, I think it's important to be realistic about like where you're going to end up, right? If you're getting sort of a 660 or 680 on the GMAT, that's very different than if you're getting a 720 or a 740 in terms of like what schools you're going to be able to get into.
Yep.
Just like no offense, and I'm sure there's exceptions. There are always exceptions, right? To like with people with lower test scores getting into things, but it's just harder. And so, if you're setting out on this kind of year-long journey to like go do this thing and go back to school, um, it's important to at least kind of get a sense for where you're going to start that journey and how, if you have a goal that you're going to go to a top 10 school and you take a GRE kind of for practice and it's in the 500s, that's going to be pretty hard, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's all kind of just like being realistic about sort of where your current assets are going to get you, right? I think the other thing maybe to be thinking about too is just kind of like resume to an extent. Maybe this isn't as analytical, but I do feel like there's probably like kind of like a tier list a little bit in the minds of people about like companies or about, how quickly you've moved up through positions. That part's a little bit more qualitative, but just in general, I think talking to somebody like you they could probably at least give you a ballpark idea of like where you're going to land.
Yeah, and I think you touch on an important point of the scores that you get are still in the context of all the other elements of the application that you're putting forward. So if you have a below average GRE score applying to your dream school, well, your chances are going to be a lot better if your resume does speak to rapid promotion or high impact, high achievement in the various roles you've had. Similarly, if you have maybe you haven't had the opportunity to have huge impact on the roles you've had, but then have an above average GRE score, that's going to also signal something positive to the admissions committee. So everything is in context. There's no GRE or standardized test score that's going to guarantee you admission or not guarantee you admission, and so I think your point of being, performing to the best of your ability, but also not over investing in the process is important. It's hard to do, because people see the average test scores and they go, well, I want to be in that range. Well, not everybody has it in them to do it, and that's okay because they showcase other abilities that can sometimes gain them admission to their dream school, but it's also being open-minded and to know that there are going to be a multitude of schools that help you that drive positive return on your graduate education investment. It doesn't just need to be your dream school. For most people we work with, there's probably 10, 15 schools that are going to be that are going to pay off in a positive way.
Right. And so then we talk about some other analytical measures, just when we were doing the prep for this. Specifically, StrengthsFinder and Pro Values are ones that you mentioned. And I'm curious, I haven't heard of these tools before, actually. And so I'm
Yep.
curious, sort of, if you could just give an overview of what each of these things are and then how you can use them in your evaluation, that'd be great.
Yeah, so StrengthsFinder is a tool that is widely available out there. It's a personality test. It really helps identify, what you're good at and what strengths you bring to the interactions that you have. Pro Values is actually a tool we developed, we use with our clients. We have several many corporate partners that we've been partnering with on the tool. We've designed it to help identify what do you value? What is it that you're looking for in a career? So, for instance, do you value compensation and rewards? Something more financial, quantitative aspects of your career. Do you value camaraderie and more of the nature of the work? Do you value intellectual stimulation? Whatever these diagnostics are helpful for again increasing somebody's self-awareness of where they are going to find the right fit. And that fit is again to the earlier part of our conversation, probably the most important thing you need to decide when considering graduate education. It's not just about where your friends and family are going to kind of celebrate you getting into. It's about where your fit is. Truthfully, we've had clients go to top 10 programs and they've graduated and they've done okay, but if you ask them after the fact, they'll be like, "Meh, it was okay. It maybe wasn't as good as I thought it would be." And frankly, those outcomes are disappointing a little bit because think of the time and the money investment people have had to have maybe sort of an average experience. Having that self awareness, knowing that maybe I want a program that's more social or less social, or I want a bigger program or a smaller program, or I want the outdoors are very important to me. So I want a school geographically that is, in an environment that I'm going to feel stimulated in. Or I want to pursue a career that isn't just about the money. Or I want, to pursue a career that values intellectual stimulation. Or I've got more leadership opportunities right off the bat. Having that self awareness is critically important to then making the decision about whether you go to school and where you go to school.
Right. Got it. Well, yeah, that's all really good feedback. Thank you. And I'm curious, kind of, as we wrap this topic up, like if there's anything else you want to say about how you can use analytics to determine whether an MBA program is right for you and sort of which one you want to go to, or just about even without the analytics, just like sort of on that topic in general about picking an MBA program or not.
Yeah, I think one of the things to remember is that using these tools doesn't commit you to applying. It's valuable even if you decide not to apply, right? It's gaining awareness of who you are and recognizing that who you are is never wrong. It is who you are. It's just
Hmm.
giving you yourself information where you are realizing, what your strengths are, realizing what you value. That's incredibly insightful for even driving your job satisfaction. We sometimes get into, run into clients where they want to pursue a graduate degree because they don't like their job. Well, one of the ways to solve that situation is to actually find ways to enjoy their job more
Hmm.
without the cost and the disruption and the expense of getting a graduate degree that maybe isn't really what they want. They're more running away from something. The other thing to remember with these analytics is it's an investment in yourself. So the more effort you can put toward it, StrengthsFinder, Pro Values, we design Pro Values to be, 30 to 45 minutes time investment. So it's not going to ruin your day. It's not going to ruin your week. Similarly, StrengthsFinder does not take hours and hours to do. And the more, look for some of these diagnostics, do them. You'll find people you'll gain insights about yourself that will help you in whatever decision you make, whatever path you choose, whether it's staying where you are and driving more satisfaction there, whether it's making a change. So make that investment in yourself because you deserve it.
Yeah, love that. Thank you so much. This has been Jiri Snacks, hosted by Tyler from Achievable with Amit Kapur from Sparrey Consulting. And Achievable has a great online jury course you can try for free by going to achievable.me. And if you like it, be sure to use the code podcast to get 10% off.